Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jai Hind, Namaskar. So, I welcome you all to this session of daily editorial analysis. And in today's session, the topics which we are going to discuss, let us first have a look at the topics. Okay. That what topic we are going to discuss. And in today's session, you will find that we have got very important topics like new topic, in fact, we can say. We have this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. This is one of the topic. We have got an article on it. It's quite important. Second article is again about China's space ambition. So this is something new. Again, we have got some new topic, some new article. So it's good. And then we have one topic with respect to education. So these two topics are very important topic, first and second. So we are going to discuss them. New batch. See, I have not got any information about it right now. As soon as it is announced, I will let you know. Okay. Now, so let's start with this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. So can you tell me what do you know about this? There is this IMEC, India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. So what do you know about this? Any idea about this one thing, that what is this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor? This has been there in discussion since 2023. This is something which has been launched officially during this G20 meeting in 2023 in India itself. Okay. So we see that this is a connectivity corridor. This is something which is a connectivity corridor. It is a connectivity corridor. This one connects India. It connects India to Middle East and to Europe. This is a connectivity corridor. This is connecting India to Middle East. This is connecting India to Europe. Okay. And we see that it has got sea route, roadways, railways. Like, I think you might be aware, from the coast in India, from India to that of UAE, and then from UAE via the road and rail network, it is going through Saudi Arabia. Then it reaches up to port of Haifa, and from port of Haifa again via the Mediterranean Sea, it is connected to Europe. So I think you might be aware about this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Okay. So this is something which was like officially launched during G20 meeting in 2023. Okay. So this is something officially launched in G20 meet of 2023. Okay. So this is something, this project, this infrastructure project, this connectivity project was something which was launched during the G20 meeting, which was again organized in India in the year of 2023. So this is one of the major project which was there. It can help to boost the export of Indian products to the Middle East also, to the Europe also. So I think you know about this connectivity part, that this one connectivity has huge implications for India, especially for relations with West Asia and for relations with Europe. So this is very significant. But now what we see, that there is a challenge for this IMEC. There is a challenge for IMEC. India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Okay. The first level of challenge started due to Israel and Gaza conflict. So Israel and Gaza conflict, this one was having impact on, there was an impact on development, impact on corridor development there has been an impact on corridor development in Israel. Okay. So this was the first level of challenge. The second level of challenge started with Iran conflict. Iran conflict. Now here what we see, this Iran conflict, here there were attacks on, there have been attacks on several ports which was essential for IMEC, India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Okay. Then we see that the Strait of Hormuz, it has become a choke point. The Strait of Hormuz crisis, Strait of Hormuz has become a choke point, which is again a major challenge for the development of this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. So we see that this Strait of Hormuz which is there, it is also a major challenge for this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Then we see that there is another level of challenge, and that is a diplomatic challenge. There is another level of challenge which is diplomatic challenge. There is another level of challenge which is diplomatic challenge. What is this diplomatic challenge? You will find that UAE and Saudi Arabia, UAE and Saudi Arabia, they are having alienation. Saudi Arabia and UAE, they are having challenges now. You may have seen that UAE, it has quit OPEC. This one country is quitting OPEC, plus more leaning towards Israel. So here we see that in fact UAE is also getting a missile defense system. UAE is getting this missile defense system from Israel. UAE is getting this missile defense system from Israel. UAE is leaning more towards Israel. It has decided even to quit OPEC. It has quit OPEC. So we see that there is a ongoing tussle. There is an ongoing tussle between UAE and Saudi Arabia also. So here you can see, first we have this Israel and Gaza conflict which has impacted the port of Haifa. Then we have the Iran conflict. Iran has targeted many such ports, many such area which was very much crucial for the development of India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. The Strait of Hormuz, which is a major passing point, a major connectivity point, it has also been effectively blocked. And then we see that there is also a diplomatic challenge, UAE and Saudi Arabia, which are very much crucial. UAE and Saudi Arabia, which are very much crucial for this India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Now there is a growing alienation among them also. Between these two nations, there is a growing alienation. So what we see that multiple new challenges has evolved for the India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. Okay. Now, you know the significance of this. You know that it is very much crucial for India, for its export also, for also getting its energy and everything. So now in this situation, what is the solution? What is the solution here? What is the solution here? First solution, diplomatic outreach. Here we will find that India, this has got cordial relations. India has got cordial relation, good relation with Saudi plus UAE. India has got a good relation, a cordial relation with Saudi Arabia also and with UAE also. So we see that first of all we need to reach out to them. We need to reach out to them to sort the differences. Okay. So what we need to do, we need to sort the difference. We have to sort the difference. So this is one thing which we have to first do. Okay. That the diplomatic challenge which is evolving between Saudi Arabia and UAE, we need to find a solution for that. We need to negotiate. We need to find some common grounds for development of this project. That is number one. Second thing is we need to look for alternate routes. We need to look for alternate routes. We need to look for this alternate routes, and that too at two locations. One part is the Strait of Hormuz. We need to avoid this. We can have ports outside conflict zone. We can have the ports outside the conflict zone. Like suppose when we are talking about Oman, when we are talking about the IMAC, right now we are planning some ports in the part of UAE. We are trying to plan some ports in the part of UAE. But there are certain conflict zones near the Strait of Hormuz. So what we can do, we can go for other areas, we can go for other locations which are outside the conflict zone where there have been no such attacks. So we need to have the ports outside the conflict zone, outside this Strait of Hormuz. So we need to reduce the dependence on the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Second thing is, right now what we are looking at, we are going through this port of Haifa, and due to the conflict in Israel, it is becoming a challenge. So we can look for alternative connectivity to Europe via the Egypt. Okay. So second thing, when we are talking about port of Haifa in Israel, here we have an alternative. Here also we are having an alternative. Via Egypt. Here we have the Suez Canal also. Okay. That Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia, it can be going on. Okay. Saudi Arabia, it can be going on through this part of Suez Canal also. Okay. Oman is neutral, but Yemen is also near to it, which has Houthis. Yes, we can understand that Yemen is also there. So we have to understand this one part. In the case of Yemen, the Houthi rebels are concentrated mostly on the southern side, near this capital city of Sana'a and all. They are present towards the southern side, near the Red Sea area. In the upper part, there is lesser dominance of the Houthi rebels. Number one. Second thing is, if you look at the map there, you will find that we can again have the ports even in case of UAE, which are away from the Strait of Hormuz, towards the eastern side of UAE, you will find that the territory is there. There also we can plan for having this ports. So this is also one part. We need to look for the alternative routes. Okay. The third important solution is partnership and engagement with European nations. That we need to bring the European nations also in the picture. It is something which cannot be done only by India. India is not the only party which is responsible or which is beneficiary of this. We need to engage our European partners also. And when we talk about European partners, some of them have been becoming quite good friends also. Like we have Italy. Okay. So we have Italy, we have France, we have Germany. We need to bring in them also. We need to bring them also in this negotiation, in this process, and then we can try to solve the crisis. Okay, so like we have example Italy, France, Germany. So these countries, we can collaborate with them in order to find the solution for this one challenge. So I hope this is clear. I hope this one part is clear. The first article. So on the basis of this, we have this one question also. The Iran war underscores the need for IMAC, but its success hinges on overcoming West Asia's geopolitical challenges. So I think now it is quite easier for you. What is the IMAC? What are the challenges? What are the solutions? And plus you can also write that what is the impact of it. So here you can write this one answer. I think you can write this one answer very clearly now. Now, coming to the second topic. The China's space power. Yes, please ask. अपना क्वेश्चन पूछिए. So here we have the second article, which is with respect to China's space power. So what do you think? What capacity is China having? You can read the Hindu. It's best option. Or if you are not having the Hindu, if you are having Indian Express also, then also it is fine. China is controlling space. Okay. Now, so here we are having the second topic, that is China and its space power, the concern for India. Okay. When we look at this, let us see this one by one. Let us see this part one by one. How China is growing. If we talk about this in 2007, they have got anti-satellite system. So in 2007 itself, China has got its own ASAT, anti-satellite test, which was successful also. It has destroyed its own satellite. China ने खुद का satellite destroy किया था. So China has done this anti-satellite test in 2007 itself. Okay. Then what we see that in 2015, what it has done, it has tested an exoatmospheric vehicle. Okay. Test of exoatmospheric vehicle which can destroy a satellite. Okay. So in 2015 also, okay, so that is also one part. In 2022, what we see that in 2022 they have got a robotic spacecraft. They have got this robotic spacecraft, and this was used, okay, so pushed a defunct, means non-functional satellite in graveyard orbit. And recently 2024 orbital dogfight. Orbital dogfight. Basically, China has demonstrated this one thing, that they can destroy a satellite from a missile from the ground. They have also got a exoatmospheric vehicle which can destroy a satellite. They have also got a robotic spacecraft which can destroy a satellite by pushing it in a orbit where it can come into atmosphere of earth and where it can just collapse. So it can push it into the earth's atmosphere also, and it can lead to the destruction of the satellite. At the same time, it has also shown this one thing, that one satellite or one spacecraft can fight with another spacecraft also. Okay. So here we see that China has demonstrated all these capabilities. China has demonstrated all these capabilities. Okay. Now at the same time, if you look at this right now, China, if we talk about the numerical strength, they have got 1900 satellites. US, it has got 88,000. If we talk about India, if we are talking about India, so how much satellites we are having? Okay. We have got 60 operational satellites. So you can understand the difference. Yes, Navik is a Indian indigenous satellite system. That's correct. Okay. So if you look at the numbers, you can see China has got this 1900 satellites. US has got 8000 plus satellites. India has got 60 operational satellites. When we talk about China, it is having moon mission. It is having on space station. China is also having its own space station. Okay. One of the best navigation system. One of the best navigation system. In fact, it is more powerful. It is more powerful than GPS. It is more powerful than GPS. GPS is having an accuracy of around 10 meter. GPS is having an accuracy of around 10 meter, whereas the China's satellite system, China's Baidu system, it is having an accuracy of some centimeters. It is having an accuracy of centimeters. You can understand from that how much accurate it is. Our on navigation system, Navik, it is having a precision of 5 to 20 meters. 5 मीटर से लेकर 20 मीटर तक है. GPS having 10 meter. Sometimes it is 1, 2, 3 meters also in its best connectivity. It is still in meters. Whereas China's navigation system, it works in the precision of centimeter. If this pen is in my hand, like here, or this pen is here, it can detect that part. Okay. So our navigation system is not able to understand the difference between one room and another room. Like they cannot differentiate between this room and that room. China's navigation system can measure in centimeters. So that is the specification of China's navigation system. It is having its own space program, like a space center also, a space station also. It is having its Chang mission for moon. It is having multiple other missions which are going on. Okay, so that China is superior in space in case of numerical also part, in part of technology also. So numerical strength is also there, technological strength is also there. So now when we are talking about India, we see that there is a challenge. Okay. For India, the challenge see we are having 60 operational satellites. Okay. China is having 1900 operational satellites. If they are able to destroy our 5 satellites, there is going to be a significant impact on our systems, on our communication system. But if we are destroying their 5 satellites, or let's say 10 satellites, then also they are having 1890 satellites. So if you look at the numbers here, here you will find that for India, if we are having lesser number of satellites, then it is something which is challenging for us. Okay. So in adversity, in adverse conditions, China may not be impacted due to attack on their satellite. However, India is having fewer satellites. So what we see that we are having a few number of satellites as compared to China. China is having huge number of satellites. Whereas for India we have the lesser number of satellites. So that is something which is a challenging situation for us. China may not be impacted due to attack, but India can be impacted due to having fewer number of satellites. So this is one of the challenging situation for India. Okay. Now in this situation, what should be done? Like, what should be our way forward? We see that China is numerically having greater number of satellites. Technologically also they are advanced. So in this situation, so what should be our strategy? Now look at this. If we talk right now, we see that ISRO remains the one which is launching most of the satellite. So we need to engage the private sector. Engaging private sector in a space aggressively. We need to engage the private sector so that we can have more and more number of satellites. Then we need to build larger number of smaller constellations. See, this is one part. You cannot destroy all the satellites of any country. You cannot be destroying all the satellites of any country. Why? Because when you are destroying satellites, you are creating a problem for the entire world. If you are aware about how the orbits are there, you can understand this part, that if one satellite is getting destroyed, the fragments of that satellite can destroy multiple other satellites. So you cannot go for destroying all the satellites, or you cannot destroy even more than 5, 6, 7, 8 satellites. Because when you are destroying that much satellites, it is going to create a global chaos. Even the country which is destroying the satellite can also get impacted. A country which is destroying the satellite can also get impacted. So what we have to do, we have to build resilience with respect to strategic satellites. Second thing is, we have to build resilience for strategic satellites. At the same time, we need to have like the replacement ready. We need to have alternate. We need to increase the number of satellites. So even if a few of them are down, the others can help. The others can accommodate. So increasing the numerical strength. Increasing numerical strength. Increasing the numerical strength. This is something which is again very much essential. This is something which is very much essential for India. Okay. Now, at the same time, what we need to do, large constellations need to be rearranged in smaller ones. If we are having a large constellation, let's say 20 satellite, 30 satellite in one constellation, and if one of them is harmed and others are also impacted, then it is a challenge. So rather than having one large constellation, we can have a few smaller constellations in order to make sure even if one constellation is impacted, the others are ready to cover that. Constellation means group of satellites. Sometimes satellites are working in pair. Especially the navigation satellites, they are working in pair or they are working in groups. The navigation satellites, they are working in groups. The communication satellites, they are working in groups. So rather than having a large constellation, a single large constellation, we can have multiple smaller constellations. So even if one constellation is impacted, the others can work freely. If one constellation is impacted, the others can work freely. So that is also one suggestion which has been provided, but we need to have a smaller constellations. Why? They can survive easily. They can survive easily. Large constellations cannot survive easily, but the smaller ones can survive easily. Okay. Then at the same time, we need to have international partnerships. We need to have international partnerships for data sharing and resilience. Safety and resilience. So we can have groups with Europe, we can form groups with Europe, we can form groups with other countries which can help us in the same manner. So I hope this is one part which is clear, that what is the numerical strength of China, what is the technical strength of China, what capacity China is having, and then what are the implications for India. So what India needs to do, it can be very much challenging. It can be very much challenging for our satellites. We are dependent on them for our civilian as well as military purposes. Our civilian, economic, energy, defense, all these things are dependent on satellite. So we need to have utmost security and preparedness for satellite. Yeah. So I think this second topic is also clear. Here we have the question also on this part. Space could emerge as the next frontier for war. In this context, discuss the challenges for India, especially with respect to China, and suggest measures. So I think this is one part which you can write now on the basis of this one article. That is, space, it could emerge as the next frontier for war. So in this context, discuss the challenges for India. So I think you can write this answer. Okay. Now we are going to discuss this answer part. Okay. We are going to discuss this one question part. India-US relations have become more transactional in nature rather than strategic. Okay. So how many of you have written this one answer? India-US relations have become transactional in nature rather than strategic. So how many of you have written answer for this? and how much time you have taken. I think this is something you have to understand the keyword here, elucidate. Elucidate means to give examples in support of your answer. Give examples in support of your argument. Here what we see that when the keyword is there in the form of elucidate, if the keyword is there, elucidate, then you have to give examples in order to support the arguments which you are making. Okay. When you are writing introduction, you can use the same phrase line which we have used last time, that India-US relations have gone through a phase of engagement, restrained. Okay, sorry. There were three such terms: estranged, engaged, and entrenched relation. So India and US relation has gone through this phases of estranged, engaged, and entrenchment. Yeah. So all these three things which we have discussed in our last session, you can mention that in the introduction. तो इंट्रोडक्शन में आप उस फ्रेज का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो. इट वॉज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कीवर्ड. Okay. So you can write about the phases of India-US relation. India-US relation. Okay. Then you can mention India-US relation have become more transactional in nature rather than strategic, and you have to elucidate. So first of all, you have to mention how we were having the strategic relation. Okay. First, you can mention the phase of a strategic relation. You can mention the phase of a strategic relation. You can mention about the phase of a strategic relation. Okay, 2005 to 2016, or even you can go to 2020. Okay, and then you can mention that how the things have been going towards more transactional nature. 2025-26, transactional in nature. Here you can mention about the tariff regime. Here you can mention about the tariff regime. Here you can mention about the sanction regime. Here you can mention about India's relation to US versus India's relation with other countries. So you can mention all the challenges. You can give example how US has imposed tariff, how US has threatened with sanctions with respect to purchase of Russian oil, how US has also threatened with respect to the development of Chabahar port. So many other things could be mentioned here. First, introduction, then second part is phase of strategic, third part is the transactional phase, and since you are writing answer, so you have to also give way forward that what should be India's approach. Okay, what should be India's approach? So there should be one flow chart. The fourth part can be one flow chart with respect to India's future approach. India's future approach. Okay. So here again, what we need to do here, when we are talking about India's future approach, what it can be, we need to have continuous engagement with US. We cannot ignore US. So we need to build on engagement with US. Okay. But we need to also go through this multi-alignment. We have to go through this multi-alignment. We have to go through the phases of multi-alignment. We need to also explore our relation with other like-minded countries. Other like-minded countries or groups like Australia, Europe. Now Europe is no longer the friend of United States. So we need to have we need to have better relations with Europe. We need to have better relations with countries of European Union. We need to have better relations with the Latin American countries. We need to have better relations with Japan, South Korea, then Southeast Asian nations. Then we have to go for Australia, New Zealand, and others. So while US is a very important part of the world politics, we have to also look for other like-minded countries. And meanwhile, we also need to navigate, we also need to manage our relation with respect to China and with respect to Russia. Okay. So here you can mention in the way forward that India's future approach, what it should be. What it should be. So that you can mention in this part, India's future approach. Then fifth part, the conclusion. Conclusion. Now here you can use that line. You can use that line which we have discussed in the last session. I have told you that there was a quotation from Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru that India's foreign policy should be decided by its economic interest and its national interest, not just defense and security. Okay. So our future policy should be decided by our economic as well as our country's interest rather than merely becoming a defense deal. So this is one thing which you can write in the conclusion part. Okay, that as said by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, India needs to focus on the economic and its own national interest while pursuing the foreign relations. So I hope you can write the answer in the same manner. So you can write the answer in the same manner. First of all, you can write with respect to the introduction. Then you can write about the phases of a strategic relation. Then you can mention about the transactional phase. You can mention about the future approach. And then you can mention about the conclusion. So I hope you have written in the same manner. Okay. So tomorrow again, we will discuss some new editorials. नहीं देखो, इफ यू आर राइटिंग मेजर वर्ड्स एज एम आर को इग्नोर भी करके चलोगे तो वो चलेगा. इफ यू आर राइटिंग एंड इफ यू आर इग्नोरिंग एज एम आर ऑफ तब भी चलेगा. इट्स नॉट सच अ मेजर प्रॉब्लम. अगर इनके कारण 10 वर्ड ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है तो इट्स नॉट अ मेजर इशू. But it should not be exceeding more than that. And the best option is, rather than using SMR, you can use flowcharts. You can use flowcharts. You can use a simple representation. No need to form the entire sentences. Even a simple point mentioning the same thing. The meaning should be clear. That is what is required. So that will be all for today. Let's meet then tomorrow, and tomorrow we will discuss some more editorials with respect to it. Thank you everyone. See, we are not like ignoring any day's article. Today, last day we have not discussed. Last day we have not discussed the editorial. So today we are discussing the editorial of Tuesday. Then we will discuss the editorial of Wednesday tomorrow. Okay. So thank you so much everyone. Take care and all the best. Thank you.